Adam, so you look after calves here on the farm?
Yeah. So I'm full time on the farm. I look after the calves when we're calving, and I will kind of flick in between calves, and when we're not calving, I'll be milking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here now nearly 1st of October. So you've had calves here, I suppose, born in August?
Yeah. So we started on the 1st of August, and yeah, we're pretty much finished now.
And so this is like the heifer unit, and all heifer. I think there's one September born heifer, but all the heifers are born in August. So it's quite tight, which is ideal. It's 3 weeks of dairy on the cows, which basically gives you a month's worth of heifer calves.
Okay. And is it all dairy bulls you use on the autumns, or do you use a mix?
Mix. So sex dairy basically, and then beef sweepers on the heifers, and beef on the lower half of the milking cows in the autumn.
Okay.
But it's 400 sex straws basically is what we use, and that has delivered us about 170 heifers.
Right.
170 weaned heifers, like live weaned heifers.
Okay.
We get about 50% conception to sexed, and then you cull a few cows, you lose a few cows. We end up with about 170, which is way too many. But like, my guilty secret is I breed too many heifers all the time.
Right.
So, and then send them down to Adam to rip.
Yeah. Someone else's problem.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. So Adam, this is your kitchen here. So look, what have you got here?
So we've got a 600 litre milk tank, which is ideal for the amount of calves that we actually are feeding.
Yeah.
Works out nicely. We've also got a milk trolley out the back, which again is nice for when they're older. We'll start them off on 3 litres twice a day when they're about a week old, and move them up to 4 litres twice a day, about 2 to 3 weeks old.
So cows are not calved here as such, are they? They're calved.
They're calved at the yard.
Yeah.
And then they'll have 2 feeds of colostrum, and then they're tagged down there and brought up here maybe the next day.
So there's no whole milk basically down here. It's only powder down here.
Powder.
Like trying to make it streamlined.
Okay.
With the hot and cold water and everything. Pretty efficient.
Yeah, very efficient. Yeah.
It's, and this is like an odd building. So back in the day, this used to be a 150 cow dairy, and this was like a milking cow shed with cows feeding outside and a parlour behind us. Okay. Just what's tricky, I think, about autumn calving is that we have like a 30 kilo heifer comes into here on the 1st of August, and a 200 kilo heifer leaves in March. And so in a building, you're trying to accommodate 2 quite different animals. Yeah. So when we set off, it's all it's pens of 13s basically, and there's the remnants of the Beowulf still in the pens.
Yes.
We just set off filling pens of 13s, and then use the straw to bed up, and then as the calves get bigger, make them into bigger squads and put them onto 52 feeders.
Okay.
How long? What would you say they're in their 13s for? 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 weeks. Yeah.
And we fill this shed, and then when this shed is full, migrate the biggest ones across and go again.
Right.
And then as winter goes on and they get weaned, we then ad-lib cake basically along the barriers here. And they're mega. An autumn calf is hard to get. Obviously, you have to have good calfers, but once they're weaned, they're pretty hard to get wrong.
Yeah.
Like we put half a ton of cake into each calf over the winter. Yeah. She leaves the shed having eaten 500 kilos of cake. They're mega. You literally can't get them wrong. They're just expensive. Yeah. But they're cheap after that.
Yeah. So how are you feeding the milk, Adam? How would you feed it?
At the moment, on the trolley, I'll basically reverse them at the end and let them at it.
Okay.
Which is very efficient at the moment.
Twice a day?
At the moment, once a day.
Yeah.
And we've just weaned the rest of those lots, so it's just these guys in here that are actually on milk in the mornings.
Okay.
So
do you heat the water?
Sorry?
The milk? Do you heat the milk? Or are you feeding it cold?
We do have a hot water tank, which is ideal.
At what temperature, ideally? Or?
Body temperature.
Yeah.
If you can put your hand in and not feel it, it's ideal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with autumn calves, they're less like. I think spring calves, the milk's really cold. Like if you don't put any heat in it, the water's cold. The milk can be quite cold. Autumn calves, I don't know. It's not such an issue, and the powder seems to mix quite well.
Right.
But it's like set up on a pump. So there's a pump that pumps it through these hoses. So when they're in their 13s, it's all on it. It's not buckets and stuff down here. It's all pumped.
Okay, to buckets with teats on it, or the
Yeah, have we still got any of that? Like the
make bars
13,
or
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
13 teat feeders.
Yeah.
Just the stallion ones, I think. Stallion
Okay.
ones with peach teats on, just
Yeah.
basic.
Works though. So.
Yeah, it's not not fancy. We're just trying to be simple. Trying to be simple, basically.
yeah. So bull calves then, what happens then? Are they here?
Bull calves back down at the yard. Same sort of principle. They'll be in the corner where they're calved, tagged, have 2 feet of colostrum, then they'll move over to the other part of the yard where the bulls are.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're on 13 teat feeders as well.
And all beefies and bull calves are then being sold at about 2 weeks of age.
Right.
So it's it's a relatively small shed up there, but we'll just cycle through it
Yeah.
2 or 3 times with calves.
Yeah.
It's not as good a setup as down here,
No.
but it doesn't have to have calves in it as long.
Yes.
You wouldn't really believe it, but we've done quite a lot of messing around with the shed, putting barriers in, improving ventilation, pouring bits of concrete, putting in cake troughs just to, try and make it simpler. That was like when we looked at converting from being a spring herd to an autumn herd. Probably I really overlooked the investment that was needed for young stock. Like I just took for granted that we, like a cake
We'd wing
trough
it.
and a ring feeder.
Yeah, and I think that happens in a lot of farms.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we all say, God, our heifers don't look very good this year.
Yeah, there's a price to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you can sell them for us and we'll buy some new ones. So it's
Yeah.
fine. No, these guys are good. We were just trying to make it simple and streamlined.
Okay.
That's always been the goal.
So bedding then, do you just let it build up or do you clean it out periodically, or what would you do, Adam?
We will try and give it a good muck out, probably every, don't know how often.
Yeah,
maybe.
might do it 3 times in the winter.
Yeah.
It just builds up. Yeah. It's harder to keep clean. We haven't got a straw chopper, we want to try and keep it clean.
Yeah.
It uses a lot of straw down here too.
Yeah.
But hey ho.
And how far would that straw come from? Is it local or?
Yeah, so the estate's got a big arable enterprise, so it's like a mixed estate. I'm only involved in the dairy, but so we get about half the straw comes off the estate here, and then half comes in. It's a big arable area. It's easy to get straw.
Yeah.
We can send quite a lot of muck back. It's in the cost of rearing a heifer, straw is not the big thing.
Okay. It's feed.
It's feed.
Yeah.
Yeah, feed.
Yeah.
It's milk powder and cake. That's the cost for the winter.
So what weight would you wean then, Adam, at? Take them off milk?
For us, we don't weigh,
Yeah.
but I think what are we?
It's 8 weeks,
8 weeks,
basically.
yeah.
Okay.
So by 8 weeks, they will have eaten nearly 50 kilos of milk powder. And as long as they've done that, we find they're fine.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, we run 3 groups, and we can then just sort through them by hand. And if there's a little group of 40 that we want to put more effort into, we can put them here and give them more cake. So, we haven't weighed anything. We weigh banded some heifers just for fun the other day, but that was not very scientific.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think
An experienced eye anyway.
if there's not a problem, we just don't want to look for it. So like heifer fertility is good. Heifers are milking quite well and staying in the herd quite well. We're not seeing big heifer mortality. I don't think there's a problem. So,
Why would you look for one?
yeah.
But for you, George, I suppose it's key to have somebody like Adam who's at it every day.
100%.
It's not changing a lot. It's consistent.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
In the dairy team, at the dairy, we share roles quite a lot more. Everyone can cover everyone. Down here, that's not the case at all.
No. What happens when it does change, if it would change? Or
Panic.
Yeah.
What happens? It doesn't change. It doesn't change. Adam's responsible down here.
Yeah, I think where it does change, I think you get a lot of inconsistencies and
and everything
routines
scours
break down.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
These guys are, just an autumn calf is quite forgiving because you can use that winter to catch them up. And then the animal that goes out grazing is like, a couple of 100 kilos. She's able to consume a decent amount of forage and grazes quite well that first season.
Yeah.
A spring calf is a bit trickier.
Yeah.
Like when you turn her out on milk at 50 kilos or weaned at 100, she's like still not quite there grazing. So autumn young stock are expensive, but actually an easier animal, I think, to rear.
Okay. So this is shed 1. So you have another shed over the yard here.
Yeah. So This was a newer shed. There was a shed here before, and then we replaced it with this one. And it's fairly similar. It's with some kind of outdoor corrals out here that Adam uses for driving the feeder through to feed them. And it kind of has a combined use as a straw shed. The hope being that as the calves grow, we use the straw and then their space gets bigger.
Yeah.
So these are the oldest calves. I can't remember how many are in here, Adam?
There's, well, there was 39 each
Side, wasn't there?
yeah.
So 80-ish calves.
Yeah.
So these are all the earliest ones born kind of early August, weaned. Yeah, all weaned as of today, really.
Yeah.
Just on cake and barley straw for a bit, and then we'll probably get these guys trained on electric and get them out grazing for a month or two.
Okay.
But they'll still run back into the shed, and then kind of by October, November. Oh well, by November they'll be on silage, silage and cake through the winter. They've not got loads of space, but we will use that straw up, and by the end they'll have the full length of the feed barrier, and kind of as they grow, yeah, they'll be fine.
So these autumn calves then, say when your spring starts, then your these will be out of the system somewhere else, will they, or how did you manage your spring calves?
So spring's all beef.
Yeah.
Spring's all beef. So no calves come down here in the spring.
Okay.
And autumn beef calves are long gone by then.
Okay.
So it's actually good because there's no pressure on these sheds in the spring. These guys can stay until we're ready for them to graze.
So you've no spring dairy calves,
No
is that right?
spring dairy
okay,
calves.
So you calve at 2.5. This is spring then, would you?
So all the heifers are reared to the autumn block.
Yeah.
We serve for 6 weeks in the autumn, and then we roll empty cows to the spring.
Okay.
And then the spring herd is all beef.
Okay.
So the inefficiency is rolling cows, but the plus of that is only having 1 or 2 groups of heifers rather than 4 groups of young stock.
Yeah.
So spring's all beef, topped up from the autumn dropouts.
Right, okay.
So it's like a short autumn mating to make empties to go to the spring. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a compromise, but like split calving is a compromise, I guess.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do 4 calving blocks,
Yeah.
or 4 groups of young stock.
I know. Good. No, that's something different there now, what you described there.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's simple. It retains cows quite well. And the bit of calving that everybody hates is like the long, drawn-out second 6 weeks. Like actually, for us, if we just do a 6-week block, it's a peak in the workload, but it drops off again quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reasonable compromise.
Okay. Yeah. So cost-wise, you were saying to rear a calf like this, so when it's ready to go out in April, May?
I think they've easily cost us 500 quid. So,
Okay.
so there's 100 pounds worth of milk powder gone into them. There's half a ton of cake gone into them. So
Yeah.
that's going to be near enough another 200 quid. So there's 300 quid in feed, and then straw, buildings, machinery. It's easily 500 quid.
Yeah.
By 6 months of age. But then after that, they're cheap. So these guys then are turned out and on grass only in that first grazing season, and then they winter on fodder beet, which is a good way of, cheap way of wintering these guys, and then graze. So a lot of cake in the first 6 months, and then nothing till they hit the parlour.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah, the first bit's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get them to that level then. they're
I think
easier
so.
to- Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
All the research would tell us that's efficient, right? A young animal is efficient at converting feed. So yeah, we blindly follow that and hope for the best.
Fair play. That's
Yeah.
good.